How to respond to rude comments at work. Like a boss.
What do I say? DanTheGunnerTraining.com.
If you are tired of putting up with rude comments or having to hear people say insulting, rude things either near, to, or about you, but you don't really know how to respond to it in a way that shuts them down, but doesn't drag you down to their level, this video is for you. If you're new to this channel, I'm communication skills expert, author, and keynote speaker Dan O'Connor, specializing in tactical communication. What you're going to get from this channel are the words and specific nonverbal tactics to help you more effectively, easily, and quickly achieve your communication goal, whatever that goal may be. Today's goal is going to be shutting down difficult, rude, insulting people at work. Remember, for more communication tactics that can help you achieve whatever your goal may be, subscribe to this channel by hitting that subscribe button below. But don't just subscribe, make sure to hit the bell so that you can be notified. These videos come out every Tuesday and Thursday, and I'm a day late, so I better get going. So, you are sitting at the office. You could be in a break room. You could be at your desk. You could be in the lunchroom. You're minding your own beeswax, and all of a sudden, one of the, ooga oogas who has not quite completely evolved yet, tries to drag you in to one of their festival of insults. Let's just say it's something simple like this. They look over and they say something like, "Hey O'Connor, your president's doing a great job." Or, "Hey O'Connor, those are nice pants. They make those for men too?" Yeah. Or, "Hey O'Connor, nice job in today's presentation. You look really slick." What do you say or what do you do? Here are 3 tactics that you can use that have been proven to work. Tactic number 1. And this, by the way, also works very well with customers and works well with customers over the phone if they say something outrageous. Number 1, ask them to repeat it. When you ask the average person to repeat what he or she just said, simply saying, "John, could you repeat that, please?" Or if it's over the telephone, "Excuse me, Mr. Jones, could you repeat what you just said, please?" If this is new to you, and if you haven't practiced it, practice it so that when it really matters, you can do it more easily, okay? "John, could you repeat what you just said, please?" The professional tone that we should be using at work is going to distinguish us from the common worker and is going to serve us if we more consistently use it so that when these types of situations arise, we can, with authority, respond to them in a way that says, "Oh no, I don't engage in that type of communication." Now, I could use that with a coworker, I could use it with a stranger, I could use it with a customer, I could even use it with my boss, because a lot of people will ask me, "Well, what if it's your boss?" The communication tactics that I will give you, especially because they all come from mindful communication, are good with anybody. Sometimes I would do a cost-benefit analysis, and what might be appropriate for my boss might not be so appropriate for a coworker and vice versa. But in general, the communication tactics that I will give you should not change depending on if it's my boss or if it's a coworker, because they're coming from the same place. So, to answer your question that a lot of people have, what if it's my boss? If my boss says something totally inappropriate or outrageous and I think, no, up with this I shall not put, I can always ask my boss, "Could you repeat that, please?" Because if it was appropriate to begin with, nobody would have a problem repeating what they just said. So under normal circumstances, when the offender realizes, "Oh crap, I've just been called on it and I don't have a good answer," they'll say things such as,
I'm just kidding. Like, no, he can't take a joke."
Now, at that point, remember that you just want to give them what's called the 3-second look. And then go about what you're doing. If they say something else, if they throw in any extra words and, try to kind of weasel their way out of it, but you know that they feel more uncomfortable than they probably even look, let's talk about the second way we can respond to things like that. Number 2, the old, "It wouldn't be unreasonable, would it?" "John, it wouldn't be unreasonable for me to ask you to keep our communication here at work strictly professional, would it?" Now, most of the time what people are going to say is another version of, "Just kidding." Again, 3-second look, then you're done. If they say, however, "What do you mean?" you'd explain to them what you meant. Evidently, they couldn't comprehend big words like unreasonable, so explain it to them. If it would be reasonable, within reason, within the realm of appropriate conduct, within the confines of professional behavior, within the protocol of accepted day-to-day interaction between two human beings, would it be within reason? Would it be reasonable? That's what I'm asking you. Is it within reason? Do you think that that would be a reasonable thing to ask to keep our conversation professional, to keep our relationship professional? Is that within reason, do you think? Logical, reasonable. Reasonable. That's not unreasonable, is it? Now, it would take a very unreasonable person to say, yes, that's unreasonable. I want to suck you down into my personal relationship that I'm trying to forge with you. If they do, you can move right along to tactic number 3 because it works with that. Tactic number 3 is, I'm going to apologize to you and say to you something such as, Mark, I apologize. I evidently have done something to lead you to believe that I'm comfortable with a relationship other than a strictly professional one with you. And I want to tell you I believe that it's best if we keep it strictly professional. I am not interested nor comfortable with this level of intimacy. And they'll be like, what? Because all they'll hear is intimate. And they'll think, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? And at that point, if I needed to follow up, I would follow it up and say something such as, well, I'm not comfortable with the level of intimacy that type of communication implies we share. I'm not comfortable sharing that with you. I'd like to keep it, and I believe that it's best that we keep it strictly professional. Don't you? And this time I said, don't you? A tag question is a quick yes or no closed-ended question that goes on the end of a statement that you just made, that you want to increase the odds of somebody agreeing to. If I want to increase the odds that you agree to do whatever it is I'm asking you to do, instead of me asking you, don't you think that it's reasonable for me to ask you to do X, Y, Z? It increases the odds of you saying, yes, it is reasonable, if I were to instead say, it's reasonable for you to ask me to do X, Y, Z, isn't it? Did you notice the difference? One time I said, isn't it reasonable for me to ask you to do this? And when you use a tag question, you say, it's reasonable for me to ask you to do this, isn't it? When you do that, it increases the odds of somebody saying yes, even if under normal circumstances they would not. When you put all of those things together, what I'm doing is I'm addressing the behavior. I'm using tactics that get you to agree with me when I ask you to do things like, keep it professional. That would be best, don't you think? And I'm letting you and everybody else there know, all I'm asking is that we keep our relationship professional. And I'm not comfortable with the type of intimacy that this type of playful banter suggests. I don't want to be intimate with you. I want to keep it professional. Can we do that? When you use those types of tactics, not only will it stop the behavior because you are addressing it, you're clear and concise, you're not being rude, you're not trying to one-up somebody or shame them or embarrass them, because that can very frequently drag the behavior on and turn it into something that you really don't want. And above all else, what that really is, when you are calling people on their behavior, clarifying what the boundaries are of your relationship, and doing it all in a clear, upfront way, that is a loving thing to do. And I'm all for that. There are many different ways to be loving with people. Sometimes the way to be loving with somebody is to show them what a professional, honest, upfront, respectful communicator looks like, and somebody who doesn't allow that type of behavior, but does it in a respectful way, in a mindful way. That is loving. And that difficult person that you're engaging with, you will see that they're really not there to be a menace to you. They didn't set out to do that. They're actually there to help. They're actually there to be a master teacher for you. And they will do that as long as you know who you are when you walk into that situation. Because that's really what makes the difference. Do you know who you are going in there? Because if you do, every one of these difficult people will transform into a master teacher that is going to help you become more of the person that you are. Because that's what these people really do. Every person that we meet is a lesson. Every difficult person like that we meet will either be a difficult person who gets under our skin, and then we'll have to repeat the lesson over and over, or they will be a master teacher who will help usher us on to the next lesson, which is going to be more difficult, but it'll be much better. And what determines whether that difficult person is either going to remain a difficult person or transform into the master teacher, what determines that is the person that you decide to be to them. It's that simple. And remember that we are all here to help one another pull each other up from the global cesspool toilet that the collective conversation seems to be spiraling down, and we can only do that if we work together. So please support this channel and support other communicators by sharing this video on Facebook and Twitter and wherever else you think people go to get information like this. And after going to my website to download some of the free tools that you can get at Dan O'Connor Training and subscribing to this channel if you have not yet done so, once you've done all of that, come back here and watch some more of these great videos. So for everybody here at Dan O'Connor Training, this is Dan O'Connor saying, remember, it is up to you as a mindful communicator to deliver any message that you have in a loving way.